The start streaming button and recording button.
I can't quite hear you, Karma. Your icon's flashing like you're talking, but
Well, she
Oh
doesn't.
no, I think it's
you.
I'm
But
on
Karma,
I
your
yeah, I
icon's
finally got
flashing
my
like you're
Fire tablet to work or
talking, but
log in, and so
Well, she
I'm
has a
on
no.
some
I think it's
really
shitty,
I'm
probably
on the
Karma,
15-year-old
your
yeah,
icon's
I finally got
flashing
headsets with
like you're
microphones. So I'm
talking.
trying to make
Fire
it so
tablet to work
not every
or
breath
Log
I
in.
take is
And
popping me.
so
So
I'm no. I think really.
Sounds pretty good though.
Yeah,
okay,
it
cool,
sounds
awesome.
alright.
I was a little bit worried about that. I'm like, this is some really shitty technology I got going on here, but it's working.
We're hitting all the classics today. Every breath you take.
It was. Wake me up before you go. I'm not gonna try to sing that one.
Private eyes are
If I
watching you, watching your every move.
so if I'm making scratchy noises, just let me know.
Well, stop scratching behind your ear. Get that flea dip going.
I'll scratch my nose. Look at my nose then.
You can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but don't pick your friend's nose.
That is some solid advice.
All right. Let's give it a minute or two, see if people start populating. There we
Okay.
go. Yeah, Cat is here. Comet's here.
So,
Hello.
Say it again, Force, and people will come. You had the magic touch there.
I don't know, maybe stopping hackers isn't a hot topic. I mean, 10 people voted for it. I don't know how many of you people voted for it, but I abstained from the polls so I can try and have an accurate idea.
same.
Huh? Prisma voted for it, Allie voted for it, Freddie Jabe, and 9 others for the pirate talk, or the hacker talk.
Oh well, maybe we can talk
Want
about it.
to watch it on
Like,
YouTube.
alright, I'm not touching that. The quote unquote app for the Fire tablets. The Discord one sucks. Basically, their app is here. Here's the website.
Nah, well, that's kind of shitty.
Yeah, I was just happy that they had it.
Yeah, you have a Fire tablet. I originally had a Gen 1 Nook that I bricked by accident because I plugged the wrong charger into it. Yeah, and I have a Paperwhite um, Fire tablet thingy because I prefer that over the glossy screen that I can't read outside.
Ah, I'm strictly
I've
for
got
watching videos, so
I've got one of those Nvidia Shield tablets, and it's alright, but for some reason it's just so slow. Like you can't, it's unusably slow. So I just never
mm.
use it.
I had a Samsung Tab a while ago. It just got so damn slow. I'm like, okay, whatever. They were having some sales. Like around the Black Friday, all of the Amazon stuff goes on sale. So
Oh well,
with the
coming up, June 21st and 22nd is Amazon Prime Day. So if you have Prime,
oh,
expect sales.
oh yes, I do have Prime.
I do too. I'm
Ex-
waiting to see what goes on
expect
sale.
a
Yeah.
deteriorated bank balance.
I think I'll.
last,
That's what it is coming up
la-
soon, isn't it? Yeah. Throw everything into your lists and see what goes on sale.
I think last time I bought a bunch of SSDs.
Hmm.
I think I'm going to be looking at the sites on my phone.
Oh, oh, it is about
I'm not.
5 after. Maybe we should start and get going, even with the small
Yeah.
audience we have, with the lots of votes we got.
I mean, we got some folks in here. So, one, two, three not staff.
Well, we do have a special guest in 2 weeks, so we'll announce that one next week.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the out of the other two, one said yes, but they're busy with work. The other one has not confirmed or denied yet. So we'll see how that goes. I'd like
Okay.
to have them both on the
Well,
same show, but we'll see.
mhm.
Uh, oh, we got another one. We got another one. Red Rooster popped in.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Hello.
how's it going?
Welcome.
Welcome.
I see Allie's being shy there too. She's here. Got the mic off.
What's the topic today? Hackers and exploits.
Yeah, hackers, exploits, and if we get to it, server hardware was the runner-up. So, or basic hardware requirements, I think it was. I don't.
Considering how often basic hardware requirements comes up, I am shocked that it has never made the top.
So, who would like to start this week? Wow, don't everybody rush to the forefront.
I'd like to talk about
I don't deal
exploits
with
because
hackers too much, so.
yeah, I'd like to hear about exploits because I deal with a lot of players who exploit the game mechanics quite a bit, and it throws the game off for a lot of people. So we could discuss that. It'd be great.
I like to hunt them down, like at the end of Jay and Silent Bob, and beat them.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that's always good.
I don't
Mhm.
like people who take advantage of exploits. We all know they're there. Like the clipping one, where you can see through the world, is probably one of my biggest, besides duping. So, as pertaining to last week's show with server rules and whatnot, that's in my list of rules, as under cheating. So if you're
Mhm.
caught doing it, and I have done this, I have banned a player on PvP who uh, denied out the wazoo that, oh no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. So one of my admins at the time, my primary for my PvP server, followed him and recorded it, and there's like video evidence. Like, dude, you did it. You're done. Like, I don't like banning people unless I have to, or if they're a douche. And then it's like, oh, you're a douche. Okay, I have no remorse about this. But yeah, if you need to dupe, because the dude ended up duping and he ended up clipping to shoot and kill other players through the terrain. That's for me that's like, all right, you're never playing all my games again, and then I will tell everybody what you do. So maybe you won't play on their servers either.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
why.
think it's also it's kind of like you've got different stages. Like if you're running EAC, that's like your first line of defense for any kind of cheating, and then after that you've got your server managers, where I think there is options for duping. I've heard about it, but I can't recall. But I think there was things in one of the managers to deal with that, as well as like inventory tracking and that sort of thing, and always the I think that the last line of defense is always just watch people like a hawk, just check their inventory, see if they've spawned in the map and they've not been playing for all of 10 minutes, and they've got like full stacks of meat stews, and they've got all these a full inventory of weapons, and it's like their day one. It's like, yeah, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most server managers or APIs that work with server managers do have an option to like check for flying and stuff like that. I know Botman has it. I think CPM has it as well, where
It
someone
does.
flies, then boom, like auto ban, like you're gone.
Yep.
Yeah, it detects spectator mode and stuff too.
I love CSMM. I haven't tried Botman yet. We've stuck with CSMM with much luck. So
I used to use Botman a lot, but I switched to CSMM.
Same with me. I started with the one that shall not be named because I had a web interface.
Hey, we all started there because of the web interface.
Well, it's the only way I could actually, talk to the players while I'm at work, so I can check, make sure everything was
Hmm.
good. And then I moved on the Rat, and then the Botman, because of the IRC. I set up my own IRC server, so I could interact with players that way. And then on the CSMN, which has the best functionality through the web and Discord.
Hmm.
So it's nice and easy. You set up your Discord channel and you can talk to your players. When I get to work, I open up 2 work emails, my home email, a Google search, and Discord. So all my work PC. I'm like, I don't care if they track it. What are they gonna do? Fire me? I'll find a new job. But but this way, I can keep up on things. So when I am running a server, you know, if someone's doing some shit, that's an easy way to track it too. Or if the players say something, I can see all conversations, private or not. And that way it's like, oh, okay, well, you guys are cheating or you're talking about it or talking about this player or that player. And it makes it easy to just go, oh, ban.
Yeah, I mostly use CPM and CSM. A lot of my stuff set up that with those, but I try to find uses for all of them because sometimes you can find things that aren't available on other managers, and I try and find their own sort of niche.
Are you
Like
mixing and
I still
matching
use Rat.
APIs?
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, I was actually
Got a
using
double
Rat,
dip.
Rat to do my backups and just
I
schedule
use
them hourly.
I use Rat for backups, and I use Botman for the one of the arena challenges, and I use CPM for reset regions and things like that.
I mean, couldn't you set that challenge up through CSMM and the handlebars and regex and stuff?
I could. I've actually got 2 challenges. One is just the Botman ones, which are pretty much done for you. They just spawn within a 50-meter radius. And then I've got
Anyhow.
custom challenges that spawn like I don't know 10 demolishers or whatever.
So I want to put this. Are there any actual questions or instances that you guys out there want to talk about?
Well, what do you guys consider other exploits besides the usual duping and whatnot? Because, like for example, we use Vanilla Plus on our server, and you've got those master tools. I don't know if you're aware of them, and you can like literally go mine with a master tool and get like a boatload of parts and all kinds of stuff, and then you just literally go sell them to a trader, fill up the traders with all kinds of stuff, and then nobody else can sell anything to the trader, and it becomes a hot mess. Do you consider that an exploit?
Well, now is it? I'm not familiar with Vanilla Plus. So is that something that it's um, in Vanilla Plus in the mod, like something like that, or is it like an admin tool that people are getting a hold of?
It's a it's a master tool. You have to spec into, like, you've got to max out the class first off, and then you can spec into the master classes, and then it lets you make a whole nother level of 1 through 6 weapons, which are better than the original 1 through 6s.
Well,
So, but it also includes like nail gun, which literally can kill a zombie with two hits.
So it turns the game into easy mode.
Pretty much. Pretty much. It's the only bad part of Vanilla Plus that I dislike.
well,
Well, in that case, I would call blocking the trader just a side effect of the mod, and probably would just need to change the mod to block most of those items from the trader.
That's a thought.
yeah, I won't really call that an exploit versus because it's in the mod. It's part of the mod, and you're willingly running that mod. The
Mhm.
only other thing you could do is either is comment out them items in the XML. So it's like,
I
oh,
see.
great, you can't get this because it's technically not in the game, even though it's in the files.
Right. Oh, okay. So, what other things do you guys consider exploits besides the duping stuff?
I know some admins don't like floating bases using like those
I was gonna say that one.
opposing plates.
Oh gosh. Well, I don't have so much of a problem of doing it with using the opposing the flip plates because the plates are still there and the plates can be hit by zombies
Yeah,
and they
plus
will take them
demolishers
down.
and
That's not a problem, but it's the ones when we had the door exploit and you're putting your base 30 feet in the air and nobody can touch it. That was a problem.
The drawbridges, yeah.
Oh
mhm.
God, the drawbridges.
I'm really sad that the hatch elevator is gone now. Those were fun.
The hatch elevator really annoys me because I reported that as a bug for years.
You mean
For
feature?
years, I reported that as a bug, and then Mad Mole finally
Mhm.
says, "No, that's intended. We want it that way. We want it to work." Okay, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, fine." And then the next big alpha build, oh, we fixed this exploit. Hatch elevators don't work anymore. What?
Well,
Damn it, you said it. I
There is
loved it. I
an
had some
elevator in the
super
game.
adult ones.
There
Mhm.
is, and it's broken as fuck.
wait. There's a
Yeah,
legitimate elevator in the game now.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
yeah.
There's
Not
an
Guppy's
elevator block
elevator.
in the game. Yeah, it's been there
It,
since like Alpha 15.
Oh shit.
it's it's basically one of those blue metal doors on it on the floor sort of placed,
Mhm.
and it only goes up and down a set number of blocks, so you can't
It's like
change how
6 or 7
far.
blocks.
Yeah, and it kind of it kind of is kind of glitchy, but it does technically work.
Well, is it like do you hit like the R button or the E to interact, and you can pick like a level, or it just goes up and then comes
No,
down?
it just goes up and then goes down.
Maybe they should address
Yeah,
that now for
it makes
27.
it's just like a normal door. You just press it, and it makes the wooden door opening sound, which
Mm-hmm.
is a bit weird, but
No.
Well, it
There's an
used to be
elevator
like a,
mod, but don't use it because your server literally won't start. Because I tried it.
well, it uses the same code.
As
It
what?
used to be
Maybe.
like a 3x4 silver piece of steel or something.
I don't know what's updated, but if you want an elevator, Guppy Cur has a mod for that. But then again, I don't know if he updated it for 19 or 18 or when he even made it. I just remember it went up and then went down. I'm sure the video is still on his YouTube page.
Yeah, that was a modified version of the code from what existed in a game already.
Hmm.
Just like in Darkness Falls, they have the bandits and survivors enabled.
Yeah, it's just the
Mm.
AI
I have
sucks.
an elevator in Darkness Falls too. Not
D-
sure what that elevator is based on, but they do have one in there.
does it go more than one floor?
Yeah, you can have different. I believe I had just started putting it into my base when I last played.
No, okay.
So looks like you can have multiple floors and multiple stops.
Hmm.
But I
I'm
haven't taken on
in
the rest.
favor of them just doing a proper elevator, because they'll always say, "Well, ladders are in the game." Yeah, but right now it's either ladders or hay bales and a giant fall pit that you just go down, and then you have to go up the ladder really slowly.
But what if I want to build a building 256 blocks high? I don't want to run up all them steps or up a ladder that far.
It was in, I
Well,
think it was Alpha 16. Made a building go all the way to the basically the limit of the game, and I just had a little. It was like one of those, what are they called? Those planks on like pirate ships. You just walk off it,
Hmm.
and there's hay at the bottom. And this was before uh, they sort of done that thing where you still take damage with hay landing on hay bales.
Oh
yep,
yeah,
you can only go about 30 blocks with hay bales now.
yeah, that was an exploit I did like though. You could just jump down and land on the hay and wouldn't hurt yourself. Because God, I know how many times I broke my leg in the earlier alphas.
And again, that was intended, but it was an exploit, and they fixed it. I still that just gets me so much.
Everything's intended until the players enjoy it, then they take it out.
It's like I mean, I spent spent so much time reporting this bug, and then finally he says, oh no, we intended it that way. I'm like, okay, but then next thing you know, it's fixed.
Yep. Oh, the master of contradiction. As far
I
as
remember when he
go ahead.
he, he showed he showed some of the weapon mods back in Alpha 17, and they like some of the scopes had proper 3D models. When you iron sighted, it didn't just bring up a static 2D overlay all over the screen like the sniper and that does now. It was a proper 3D scope, and I always wondered what happened to that because that looked quite good. And when he showed it, it looked functional. I didn't notice any glitches. Maybe it was a performance reason that it was taken out or something.
That's possible. Or maybe they just were still working on the model. I never know what's going on with the graphics team.
But it looks pretty. Release it. All right. So back to exploits. I don't know if anyone considers this an exploit, but it bugs the shit out of me is drop mining because it can crash the server. It can corrupt the TTW file. That's a banning. That's a 2x4
Well,
to the
that's why all
face.
the managers have prevent falling blocks.
I think Prisma was the first one to do that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice feature. So now you can't drop mine. I think put it at like 5 or 10 because every once in a while I just want to take out a building and just get the resources. Give me that scrap iron. I can beat on.
How many blocks would be considered drop mining if you drop those at 125?
I think you can change it to
Yeah, you
whatever
can.
you want.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
set the how
we have
many.
our servers are set to 20.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't help it. There's a few blocks. There's no way to stop that.
Yeah, but it eats up so much RAM and CPU calculating the structural integrity changes and the falling block random whether they're going to drop a loot bag or not.
Yeah, I don't like the problems that come with it, but as a gameplay strategy, it's a good. I mean, I like doing it. I mean, it's fun, but
Hmm.
it's if there's too many people in the server, I'm just gonna leave that. I'm not gonna dig out that tunnel. I'll leave that for another day.
I know.
But
I remember my early testing for seeing how much RAM the client would use. I would go and just fill the Navigating Hospital with explosive barrels and then fire it off. See how long it took to crash my computer.
spawning in the carriers nuts. It uses all 64 gigs of RAM. I don't know what it's using it for, but it's using it.
Wow. Now are you using like the import command or are you putting it in the XML when the map generates?
Preferably, I always do it through the XML because it's much easier and it, it's not as demanding when it to spawn in versus the command. But to get the server hub floating, you have to do a trick that basically means you have to do it that way. So for normal prefab, I always do the XML, but for specifically the server hub, I have to do it through the command. So it takes a while.
So how many chunks do you have to preload for that?
Two.
Really? How?
Well, two regions worth.
Oh, regions. Okay.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
regions.
Well, because the chunk's only 16 blocks. And I'm like, 32
Yeah.
blocks? That seems awfully small to load that huge ass thing in there.
Luckily, you can. Every time I spawn it in manually, I have to increase the view distance because the default maximum will not do it. It will go like blocks out of chunk or whatever that error is.
All right. Let's try and get back on topic a little bit. Any other questions? Hacking or exploits? Like, I mean, exploits are gonna happen, and we might not even be thinking of them because it's something that could be low on the list. Um, but yeah, anything that the player that's in the game that we know is broken that the player takes advantage of, like, I don't
Well,
care
I
how
know one
small it
thing that
is. Mhm.
annoys me is the people that go and hit the POIs and they just go straight for the end game loot box and then leave the rest of it alone.
Mm.
Nerd
Yeah,
pulling.
nerd
Because then
pulling or
other
the
people
the
come by
gyro.
later, they do it normally, and then they get to the end, they're like, "Fuck."
You mean, yeah, like
Especially,
you would like to have POIs where the high loot room, the end loot room is always at a different place or something like that?
Or more secured, but that's a fun pimp design problem.
There's a lot
yeah,
of those.
especially soul crushing when it's like one of the larger POIs, like it's the Dishong Tower. You work your way all the way through it. You get to the top, and nothing there.
Nope. And that's when you see the little frames on the side. Somebody had jumped up the ladder.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even see that because it's just been someone on the gyrocopter.
Yeah.
What about establishing a no-fly zone above cities?
See,
That would be great if it kicked them
instead
off.
of a no fly zone, I think we need to mod in a surface to air missile launcher. I think that would be more effective. I do have a
A
model for
flat
one.
cannon.
I'm just lazy.
You
Like,
could just make like airburst rockets from the rocket launcher.
huh.
Isn't that how a no-fly zone works? When you fly there, you get shot.
That would be
Mod
great.
AA turrets for your
Are
POIs.
they talking about that actually?
I
Putting
wonder
a turret at the end?
what was that?
For countering the going to the loot room first thing.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I thought I heard uh, someone talking about putting a turret at the end of it. That you have to
Yeah, I
get
think
by or whatever.
they they talked about like having turrets, like you said, and you would have to first disable the power or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I think they also talked about like a certain zombie has a key to the loot room that you need to open the chest or something.
They talked about one-way doors too. I thought.
what we could use is some type of thing through a server manager, like maybe like an advanced claim from CPM that if you drive a vehicle into an area, you get teleported out. Like you can walk in on foot, but if it's a vehicle, you're out. That won't be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's totally possible. I mean, something similar already.
A good
It
idea.
would make it interesting to fly over town, though.
Yeah, it'd be pretty rough in like the burnt biome on the wasteland where if you're flying, everything is fog. You can't see anything and you don't know where you are.
Ouch.
Any other specific questions out there? I mean, this episode seems to be a little lackluster when it comes to like talking about the hacking and exploits and whatnot. I mean, that's just my thought right
Considering
now.
how
Yeah, sorry, I
well,
was late.
I would wonder, like, we have a lot of people that say, oh, this person was banned for hacking. Like, I'm wondering what the ratio of people having EAC enabled versus not. Like, are they getting more because their EAC is not enabled, or are they getting hit by people that are bypassing that? That would be my question for other server owners.
We've never had a problem with hackers, exploiters, except for twice, and that is when both times I forgot to put EAC on.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
only
and
gotten hit once when I had to disable EAC for Darkness Falls.
yeah, I used to run without it in Alpha 16, and you got hackers all the time. And as soon as Alpha 17 came out, and the mod that I wanted to use no longer required disabling it, and I could run EAC, pretty much 99% of hackers are just, they never appear.
Mm.
Yeah, apparently EAC is like the number 2, um, I guess security program. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
To
Battlemetrics is number one, or not Battlemetrics, Battle Eye.
Battle Eye, yeah.
Battle Eye, yeah.
Battle Eye is
I was
number
like,
one.
Battlemetrics?
EAC is
Yeah,
number 2.
What do you guys think about VEC?
Somebody recommended King Gen last week, and I downloaded it and pulled a map and uploaded it onto a 12 slot. I gotta tell you, it makes a really nice map.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play with King Gen yet, but I've heard good stuff about it so far.
Yeah, I was using nitrogen, and it seemed like it was a lot of the same old. Every place you went, it just looked the same, and this just seems like it's more variety in different places, and even the terrain is better, more variety. So I chose to have like a smooth map, but like you went to one town and the roads were like windy, almost like a village. It's very cool. I would recommend trying it if you haven't.
Yeah, I did
Who makes it? Do we know?
close.
I don't know.
Um,
King GM or something like that is his name.
right. I have it
Hold
here
on, I
somewhere.
have it somewhere.
We're also not getting that bouncing like when you're on the map and you're riding on in a vehicle and you like get that bouncing. We're not getting that on this map.
Yeah, his name is Kingslayer GM.
Yeah, I just googled and it came up in the forums.
I think we all just Googled it.
Yeah.
I was actually going to the nitrogen thread because I just yesterday closed the nitrogen thread because it's nitrogen's pretty much dead with Alpha 15 19.5 because the
Yeah.
distant POI is all screwed up.
Yeah, I'll post the forum thread in the Brain Drain channel for anybody who doesn't want King Gen and is interested. I will try it out.
The only issue I have with those map generators is that I can't edit the height map after it's generated, and I would love to do that.
Even using DTM, you can't edit it in Photoshop.
I'm struggling converting it back from a PNG to RAW format, because when I do that, the terrain is not smooth anymore. It looks like Minecraft. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I saw that in the
But I
Darkness
haven't
Falls
tried to
maps.
fix
It's
that
got
yet. So
areas that
maybe I
look
will.
weird like that.
Yeah, maybe I will get it fixed next days. Who knows? Because I'm making a really detailed map currently. And that's the only problem I haven't solved yet. Someone is interested. I post my height map.
Looks
I think
like
it'll be interesting the changes they did to RWG. Did everybody see that post recently about the downtown districts?
yes, I did.
Mhm.
I normally don't get excited for the new alphas because it's all pretty and less back end stuff. At least from what we're told anyway. So
Well, they always show out the graphic stuff because they can without apps to show you the still broken RWG that they're redesigning.
yeah.
I
But
love the new sidewalks and traffic signs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw there was traffic lights. That's going to be different.
Yeah.
but will they work or not? That's the question.
I don't know. They're doing a lot of changes for the lighting code and the way, like the way the street lamps work. So
So does that mean if you're in town and it gets to 2200, that street lamps will come on?
That would be funny.
Or if you're driving too
I'd like to
fast
be able
in
to
the
see license
4x4.
Or you can fix them at least.
Yeah, I think I might try this King Gen just to see how it outputs. Maybe just put it on a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I threw it up on a
Like you did
12
in the
slot
engine?
and let my people just kind of do their thing to see how it was. And so far, it's been pretty good. You're not getting like 2D shot towers right across the street from each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Seems to be more variety.
Yeah, on the forum, he's got a screen cap of a 16K map. I'd be afraid to run that.
Lord.
I did 8. I
Well,
did 8K.
yeah, because even with the faster generation of those maps, you're still going to run into the same issues with 16K maps in terms of memory and bandwidth.
I remember the
I'll need
days
to
of the
see
circle
how.
map. They were so much bigger.
I'll need to see how King Gen does RAM wise, because Nitrogen uses quite a bit more RAM than vanilla maps do.
So in
Why
King
is
Gen,
that?
there's advanced customization, and you can customize your height map, and you can custom your biomes map, custom cities map, and custom zonings map. I didn't mess with any of that, so I have no idea how it works, but it might be interesting to check it out.
They work fine.
They do,
Exactly like he showcases them.
Yeah. We also did this time, which was interesting, was we did 6-hour days instead of 2 or 1.
A 6-hour cycle?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're doing 4
Along with
days
Fortnite.
per 24-hour day. My God, I don't think I could do that.
Well, it cuts down on the amount of horde nights, which you're not getting like a horde night every single day, and it seems to have like slowed that progression down just a little bit.
Yeah, but
The
Horde
one
Night's
thing,
gotta last forever though.
no, I set it to last an hour, so you've got 5-hour. It gets light at 2 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think one of the biggest things that people complain about is, you can pretty much be in a really good place in 7 days in a week. And endgame just comes too quick. People get bored and then they, feel like I got to start over someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to figure out ways to slow down the progression. So I added the 20% progression mod where it's 20% more XP to get to each level. We made the days 6 hours to make it so horde night just didn't happen like every single day. And then there's a couple other things that we did to slow it down, and so far it's been working good.
Yeah, I've done something like that before.
Yeah, for the people who like to grind, it's good.
Yeah, I run 25% loot just to slow down the progression, and it sure works.
I bet that's a good idea, though. That's a very. I
A lot of
probably
players they'll spawn in and they'll be like, "Wait a minute, 25% loot," and boop, they're gone.
Yeah.
Poof.
And then those same players will play through in a faster progression, and they're bored in 3 days, so they're never happy.
Not like we're gonna screw on anyway.
So I saw in Alpha 20 there's going to be seating, something with the seating. Does that mean that more people are going to fit into vehicles without using mods this time?
Well, you need item mods now, like the sights you put on weapons and stuff. There's an extended seat mod for vehicles. So I guess you have to use a mod slot to
Yeah,
extend
they'll have
seats.
mod slots for better engines or faster speed or stuff like that too.
Yeah, there was going to
Yeah,
be a supercharger or something like that for faster speed.
I wonder if they'll let you have more seats in the gyro. Because I
That would
love
be nice.
going and saving players. I modded mine so it's got 3 seats, and the other 2 players they sit on like
The
the
wheels.
poles where they sit on the poles that are attached to the wheels.
I must have played on your server once before then, because I remember riding on somebody's gyrocopter at one point.
I mean, just replace it with like the helicopter from MASH. You have the pilot one inside, and you can have 2 people laying down on the other ones.
Yeah.
That way, you can get your team of 4 to wherever you need to go, and just put a little storage space in it.
I've been losing my
They need like
connection a little bit. Did anybody notice the chat in the Brain Drain channel? I wasn't sure if you guys already covered that.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Okay,
disable
sorry.
dev weapons.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Just comment them out in the XML, and then if a hacker gets on, they don't have access to them.
Or if you want to use them, you can set I forget what it's called, but it's like a. I'll see if I can find it. There's different settings you can give an item, like dev or none. If you set it to none, it won't show up in creative, but you'll still be able to spawn it with the command.
Yeah, we have a custom command that we use called equip admin that gives us all the items.
So, any more on
Creative mode, that's it.
exploitation? Creative mode, yeah. Any more on exploitation or hacking or anything like that? Anybody questions or comments, concerns? We don't bite. I mean, feel free to speak up. I can't guarantee Naz though. He might lick you. I don't know.
I have no idea which kind of stuff you have talked about since I was late. So
Well, if you have anything to, topic wise, just bring it up.
Oh, actually, there is something. So, as you may know, I don't host any servers myself. I just partner it with some communities. And a server owner was banning a big team of players for duping items. And he was using already 2 modlets I have written, which remove vehicle storage and the drop backpacks of loot containers. So there are not much left you can use for duping items. And he showed me his logs. I think the ones from server tools, which were really big, spammed with 25k rockets and stuff like that. And it was such a huge amount that it was really unreal to dupe that much, you know? And we couldn't find those items in their base. They claimed that it was a bug, that they had an error popping up in the console in red when they moved items out of the chest and stuff like that. And I've never seen something like that before. I mean, I've seen a lot of logs when players were duping before we had those 2 mods on the server. And this was really like totally unreal. Nobody can move 5k rockets within 7 seconds.
Oh God, no. That's obvious.
And
That's obvious cheating.
the
Yeah.
server admin was still claiming, yeah, no, that's not a bug, and just banned them. And I'm pretty sure that was a bug. I have no idea how that happened, but it's unreal that even with using a macro, that a player can move that much items in this game that fast. So yeah, I was really confused by that. I mean, that basically means you have to empty out and fill in your inventory multiple times during those 7 seconds, right?
Yeah, I mean, you only get X amount of inventory slots, and then if you're doing 25,000, I mean, there has to be a stack mod with that too to be able to stack them that much.
No, it was no stack mod, but extended backpack, and I think he would have to do 4 full cycles of emptying and filling up the inventory to reach that number of rockets within those 7 seconds. And that's totally unreal, honestly.
Were they dropping them?
No, just taking them outside a storage container. From the same storage container, by the way. So yeah, doesn't make sense to me at all. And my question is now, if anybody experienced something similar so far? This case was pretty unique for me, at least.
I wonder if it was like a craft timer thing. Maybe like a craft timer broke or something and it spat out like...
Yeah, but that's why I
Most of
asked
them that
if they
happen in
were
the beginning of
dropping them,
Darkness
because I
Falls.
could see them dropping to the ground. You know, if it was something like
Yeah,
that, or if they
exactly.
were, spamming add to inventory and then his inventory filled up and it was dropping
My
them. But if he's transferring from a container, that's a little different.
my idea was that something is weird going on in their base with the chunks, or maybe the electronics. Something is interfering somehow, because it happened multiple times for them over a week. The server owner just didn't check every day the log files for dupers, and it never happened to anyone else on the server. And the server was running, is still running, and there are a lot of players on the server, and it never happened again. So yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely one for the books.
I know you
Um,
used to be able to bug the workbench so that once it got full in the workbench, it would spam the items into your inventory, but they fixed that a couple alphas ago.
yeah,
Maybe the code's still floating around in there.
I guess it will be a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something you can't reproduce, because you don't know what they did to do it.
Yeah.
No way to
As
stop it
long as
then.
yeah. As long as it doesn't keep happening.
I have a good one about reproducing errors, if you like to hear the story.
Sure.
Does anybody know about the wire tool bug, which spams the server-side console when someone is holding a wire tool, which makes the server lag really badly?
Yeah, I read about that one a couple of days ago.
I got a fix for that from Aviator. But I didn't know he made that fix before, right? So I had this bug which was making the server lagging really bad, and I just had those error messages, tons of them, repeating the same error message, and I didn't even have coordinates or a player ID. So I was trying to get on the server and asking the players if somebody's doing something with electricity when this error happened, right? And after some time, I found someone, and turns out that when he was holding a wire tool after connecting to items, and he had still the wire tool in his hand, this bug had him. So I hopped on my test server and tried to reproduce the bug, but nothing, no errors. And it took me 3 more days to realize that a player needs to be at Map Center to reproduce the bug, since the wire tool is referencing to 000. And if at 000, the central chunk of your map, if there is a claim or a trader protection zone, which basically works like a claim, then the wire tool is referring to that claim, and you don't have permissions on that claim, and that's causing the issue. So you need to have 2 things on your server: a claim at your map center and somebody else using a wire tool. And I highly suggest you guys, if you haven't done it yet, install the fix on your server, or at least make a zone which doesn't allow you to place claim blocks in your map center. Otherwise, somebody can abuse that to make your server unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, you need 2 players to reproduce that bug, but it's so easy to reproduce. You just need a claim block and a wire tool, and a server where you can place a claim block in the center of the map. So yeah, that's something I recommend.
Just throw a reset zone down there in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. It just has to cover like an area of 4x4 chunks. Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah, another problem with electricity that causes server-wide issues is if you have solar panels and they're connected to enough devices that it can't power them all, so it's trying to draw more power than it can provide, and it just causes tons of lag, and it just makes it unplayable.
Interesting. So you say I just need to connect it to a lot of devices, and then the server lags.
Yeah,
If
electricity
you
is
overpower
flawed.
it.
Yeah, nice. I will try
Yeah.
to. I will investigate that. Maybe I can fix that. Who knows?
Then
I
there's
think
the
they
disappearing box issue with electricity. If you put power in and your boxes just start disappearing.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it happens all the time. It happens with the PhD mod. Let me take that back. It doesn't happen
Okay.
with the regular stuff. Yeah. If you're using PhD lighting, the minute you hook it up, your boxes just, you've got to stand a certain way to see them. It's extremely annoying. I don't use PhD anymore for
That's
that.
That's
an
occlusion,
issue
right?
with occlusion.
Yeah.
It's not just that particular thing. It happens with everything, anytime. And if you disable occlusion, then you won't have that issue anymore.
Disable occlusion.
You just lose
Down.
some FPS, maybe.
Yeah,
Client side.
that's a known
Yeah.
issue with occlusion, and disabling it right now doesn't have that much of a difference in your overall FPS either. So,
Oh, okay.
but
unless you're
occlusion is
running through the carrier, in which case it helps a ton.
well, in the normal game, it, it doesn't have a really huge impact.
Only ever had it happen when the electricity gets hooked up.
Yeah, it's people have been saying, well, it only happens when you do this and this with turrets or, that or the other. But it happens with pretty much everything. I did a bunch of testing with that when Alpha 19 was still experimental. And it's been a known bug since before it went stable.
By the way, the mod I have worked on now allows you to limit turrets in a chunk area. So you can have an area 3x3 chunks or whatever you set as a radius, and then you can limit the turrets and power sources and workstations. If that helps, I don't know. Unless we won't know if it helps unless somebody tests it.
Well, there are some limitations too. Here, I forget. I think I was talking to you this about before. Kane had given me some numbers on what the limitations for electricity are before it starts causing an issue.
Do you still have them?
I'd have to go look them up.
That would be nice.
How do you guys deal with people making screamer farms, putting up like 50 forges or 100 campfires and stuff like that?
Ban.
It depends on the severity of it. If it's just a few barrels or whatever, bringing in like one screamer every 15 minutes or whatever, that's not really an issue. But if it is like you said, and they've got like an entire chunk of barrels or whatever,
Yeah.
that can be a problem.
So is there a number of...
Previously, I'd made a screamer shrine to make them come, just because people wanted to have fun.
Yeah. Is there a number of forges that is too much for a server? Or do they not cause any issues?
Well, really, it depends on how much heat is being generated in an area and pulling the screamers. And the biggest issue is saturating the entity limits. Because if you have a group of people, you've got 2 or 3 people that are, farming screamers in one spot, it can make it so pretty much the rest of the server is not going to see any zombies.
So do you guys have rules on your servers for that kind of stuff?
I don't have a specific rule for it, but if I see it happening, then I'll have a talk with them about it.
We do have rules on that, cooking machines, anything that uses fuel like that. That if you're in an area where there are lots of people building together, we tend to limit the amount of cooking machines simply because it does draw in so many screamers, and some people just want to build quietly. But then in a public horde area, no problem. Bring in as many screamers as you like.
What do you limit them to?
We limit them to 50 per base.
50 what?
Screamers or
Cooking
zombies?
machines.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cooking machines.
That still
Anything that
seems.
uses fuel, that's like total. That's like forages, fires, chem stations, stuff
I
like
wonder.
that.
I wonder if you can limit the heat per chunk. So you have a maximum heat you can produce inside a chunk. So you have a maximum of screamers you can attract during a time period.
I don't know. I mean, we've had that rule for quite a while now, and it seems to work okay. At any point, if we find it doesn't, certainly, I mean that will be reduced. But up until now, fine.
Here it is. I found it. He said 12 or more electric posts can cause chunk corruption.
So it's not 100% sure that you get a chunk corruption. It's just a chance, or so
Right.
it's random. Damn it.
Wasn't it in 17 there was a bug like that every time you went near a base that had electric fence posts that you'd get the console errors?
If there are too many of them, yes.
Right.
That's still an issue.
Well,
I think there was
electricity hasn't been worked on. So that for the heat map or whatever, that's until they decide to redo it, that's going to stay there. And then you have campfires and forges going nonstop. I mean, I've never had more than like 3 forges at a base. Between one for glass, one for metals, and one for like stone, because gotta get that concrete.
Yeah.
And then normally maybe 1 or 2 campfires for for cooking. But the thing that grabbed me the most as far as screamers went was earlier on is all the torches to keep the place lit so you can see. Like I don't have my gamma all the way up, so it doesn't affect it. Like I used to, and I'm like, well, I can always see, so let me put it back to normal levels and see what happens. Like, oh, well, now I need 50 billion torches.
Hmm.
That's why I like Vanilla Plus, because you could pick up lanterns and flashlights.
I just find a mining helmet light mod, and then I just use that the whole game and never turn it off.
Well, the problem
I
is
just wait
finding
until I
one.
get I wait until I get the book that gives me the lanterns, because those are really nice, and you can pick those up in vanilla.
Yep.
Well, lots of torches will attract screamers if you have tons of them.
It's not as bad as it used to be. They toned down in Alpha 19. They toned that down some with torches and candles.
Well, I never had the problem with candles. It's only been torches.
Well, torches have like half the heat generation of. I mean, candles have half the heat of torches, but they also give out a lot
Torches
less
are
light too.
terrible.
All right. Any more on hacking our exploits?
One thing that I remembered just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
Large bases with a lot of complex shapes can cause lag in the area and completely tank the server FPS when you have a blood moon there.
Hmm.
Ran into that one in early 19.
Huh.
But with complex shapes, you mean what exactly?
I had a guy that had built a castle, and it had a whole bunch of the angle wedges and different of the triangles.
Do
Yeah,
you
but
mean that the triangles were like facing out the way so that the game had to render all the sides of them?
right, yes.
Ah,
And
interesting.
so the game was having to adjust the rendering to all of these complex shapes in the area, plus the SI calculations, and then also doing the Blood Moon Horde, and that just tanked the FPS on the server.
That's interesting. By the way, there's a surface limit in the game. So when you show too much surfaces, the blocks start to disappear. I mean, blocks don't have that many surfaces, but when you have a draw, for example, it has those pins, and even those pins have sides and stuff. So a simple draw has more than 16 surfaces, and it has stability support. So as players told me that they build bases out of just draws and maybe a claim block and nothing else, like really only those draws, and build towers using those, and raiding those is a nightmare, since the loot could be in every block of the base basically, right? And they really soon met the limit of the game where draws start to disappear, so you could walk through, and then they had to make slim designs using that to make towers, and it was really efficient. When you have a server where it's not allowed to collapse bases, then it's basically a non-raidable base, and they are pretty durable as well, since they have a hardness modifier of 8. And you can you can reach the same surface limit with which by using different block types, and expose all sides and so on. So yeah, that could be an issue at some point.
You tend to get it.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say we've tended to have it with when people lay down a lot of frames or rebar blocks. Then sometimes you can have problems.
Yeah, about
It's the same.
150, 200 is going to be your upper limit on that. Then it can start to corrupt the chunk.
There was a base a player made in Alpha 16, and you just knew it was trouble as soon as you saw it. I'll post a picture in the channel. Every time you teleported there, your game would just crash. It was cool looking, but it wasn't fun as an admin.
Wow, that's crazy. Is that Salty? Is that Salty server?
No.
Oh.
All right, let's unless anybody has anything more on the hacking and the exploitations, let's
I got one.
Go ahead.
We're using Botman, and there's the /stuck command.
Oh yeah, like if you get stuck down, it teleports you up a few feet.
Yeah, and what we found was players would go into other players' bases. They would go up to their door, type the /stuck, and it would either teleport them to the other side of the door, or it'll take them up one level. So they were able to jump around in bases with the /stuck. So we
you can do the same thing with the mini bike without the mods.
Oh, with the mini bike?
Yep, just park the mini bike right up against the door and then get off of it. It'll do the same thing.
And it'll throw you to the other side. Okay, what are you doing to prevent that?
I don't know yet, but that's something I am aware of.
Yeah.
And the mini bikes.
We had another problem where gravity was broke. Let's say you set 3 frames down on top of each other, and then you pull out the bottom frame. The top 2 should fall down, and it wasn't doing it for us. So we had removed that version of Botman and upgraded to the latest, and it fixed our physics problem.
So you were talking about that recently, weren't you?
I think it was Judge that probably brought it up.
Oh, okay, yeah, Judge was. It was just a few days ago, I remember.
Yeah.
And also we installed Glitch Bot to stop people from X-raying, and we changed our vehicles for land vehicles to first person. Yet we still had people using their bicycles going into holes and getting those X-ray glimpses.
Oh yeah, I tried the same, and the players raged so hard for first person on vehicles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you're using the Anarchy bot.
Glitchbot.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
same.
the other one for the first person. I'm not sure what Judge installed there. I haven't talked to him about that.
Yeah, Glitchbot is the one I'm talking about. I use the same, and I've checked the source code and made some little modifications. It's done pretty well.
And that's just for first person land vehicles, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work with vehicles, right? I don't know if he has fixed it, by the way. There's a bug with his mod when you use vehicles.
Yeah, it is Anarchy bot. I see it installed
Yeah,
on the server
that
right
you
now.
can get a black screen out of nowhere when using
Right.
vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Unfortunately, it isn't really quick. So, like, let's say you're running through a whole bunch of doors and you're double tapping echo key.
yeah.
Sometimes you get the black screen. It thinks that your head is in the door. So you might get that a couple seconds later when you're running down a hallway and all of a sudden you're black screened.
I think people can still bypass it by finding the sweet spot where it doesn't trigger, or make it so often that they, for half a second they can see without a black screen through the wall.
That's right. Yep.
But then you see it in the log files that they tried really hard.
Yeah, I think it really catches just the honest person that doesn't mean to X-ray and it just blacks it on them. But to someone that's determined that they are going to X-ray, they'll just keep doing it to keep getting like a quarter of a second of a glimpse, and that's all they need.
Yeah, but then you have a lot of entries in the log files, so you see, okay, that's unusual. He glitched so many times in a row there that he was trying to trick the system.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know if Glitchbot has anything to catch that though.
Just the log files so far.
Just the logs you have to look through.
But
Okay.
it would be easy to add something that if you trigger it too often in a row, that you automatically get banned for a day or so or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So if you like to have that, you can reach out to me and I can see what I can do.
Oh, okay.
All right. We got about 20 minutes or so left. Let's discuss hardware a little bit. But before we jump there, Comet just posted it in the chat channel. Sorry from earlier. Heat map can be adjusted in the XMLs if not mistaken. You can use the set X path to adjust heat map strength for things like forges, campfires, barrels, etc. So that could
Yeah,
jump
there's
down
a
on
couple
that.
of modlets out there for that already, but the one thing that you have to consider is it's also going to reduce heat map completely from regular gameplay when you're doing that. So, I mean, when people should normally be getting streamer hordes, when they're not trying to exploit the system, that's not going to happen either.
Right. I mean, maybe if you want to tag that, if you want to put special forges or special things in your game that use, that isn't affected by that, just up the value. So whatever, if you're going to use that in combination to offset it. But yeah, I mean, it all depends. If you got one person running all that stuff and it's causing lag to your server, at some point you got to think of server overall health or, well, hey guys, you can't do this. You keep doing it, you get banned. All right, so let's go on to hardware with the last little bit of time we got left. So I know we've mentioned hardware before, and in general, you want, CPUs with good single core performance with a higher gigahertz. Um, I'm an old tech guy, so my theory is you can never have enough RAM. Especially if you're running modded servers like Darkness Falls, Undead Legacy, Ravenhurst that import new assets. Those things suck up RAM like a vacuum. And then your best is SSDs, preferably a high-speed NVMe drive, or maybe a small RAID array of some 2.5s. Sai, you said you got some some SSDs for like $25 a pop from like a reseller or a wholesaler or something?
I picked them up at Micro Center on sale. They were Evo 860s.
Oh wow, because I thought only the inlands were that cheap. What?
No, they they were on sale.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. They were on sale for $25 a piece, a little 250 gig.
So you got what? Like you said, what, 3 or 4 of them, and just rated
I
them?
picked up 4 of them.
Yeah, for $100, you got a gig, and
Yep,
what's that? RAID 0, RAID 1,
RAID 0.
RAID 0? Yeah.
I have multiple arrays, so
Well,
we've
yeah.
got the
Danger
main
man.
OS is on 2 850s and RAID 0, and then servers run on the 860s, and then we've got 2 hybrid SSHDs that everything backs up to.
Hmm.
I will say for 2.5 inch SSDs, be careful what brand you get because sometimes it matters in a big way. Like
It does.
stay away from anything made by Kingston. Their drives
App.
suck.
Oh my God, they suck so hard. And speaking of Inland Professional, the drives are fucking slow.
Mm.
The professional only, or
Kingston
just in
drives.
general?
No, they're professional ones. That's the only ones I've tried is the Inland Professional,
I
and they all suck for speeds.
I think I use the premium. I might have a professional on my regular machine, but I think well, I don't have a 2.5 in my server, but I think I have the. I might have a couple of professionals. I think I usually get the premiums though.
I had 2 of the Inland Professionals and RAID 0, and they were slower than a single SSD by itself.
Wow.
Even though their rated speed is faster, but they were so slow, it was just pathetic. And then the Kingstons, only maybe a year of use with the Kingston drives, and they were at 80% life.
Wow.
And we're talking about they were sitting next to some Evo 850s that had been in use for almost 10 years that were at like 93%.
Now you have me wondering what I picked up. Okay, so I have the Inland NVMe premium. That's my C drive in my gaming machine. Is that the C drive? Oh no, you know what? That's the cache drive in the server. It's the premium NVMe.
Mhm.
I gotta go. I'd have to go back to 19.
But they get like, off the top of my head, the premium NVMEs from Inland get like 2200 megabytes per second, when your equivalent Evo 970 is going to get like 3800 megabytes per second.
And what's the cost difference though?
Last time I checked between the two, it was only like 10 or $15.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, I actually have the professionals. I have the professionals in a RAID array on my gaming machine. So that's where I'm failing. I'm using the professionals as a spanning RAID in the gaming machine.
Yeah, we had that in the Windows server,
Hmm.
and it was so bad I had to get rid of them, and I threw a bunch of 860s in.
Yeah. I went for value. Like I dropped my money on the video card and the processor and the RAM. So I'm like, well, for stuff I'm just, again, not running the server just for the gaming. I went for price on the SSDs. But you have how many different servers are you running? Actual boxes?
2.
Two.
We have 2. We have one that's running Linux, and we have one that's running Windows.
And one of them is an Optiplex.
They're both Dell PowerEdge
Power Edge.
R710s.
Okay. Nav.
Have you ever
A little older, but those 5680s really put out.
Well, I have 5690s in my rack server collecting dust. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really run, 75 players or 70 players on Conan with that just because it likes the higher gigahertz on that. But for 7 days, probably Valheim and most of the other shit, that's more than fine.
Yeah. Well, our Conan servers run pretty fine on it.
How many, what are you at, like 3.2 gigahertz or 3.5?
3.5.
And
It clocks higher when it needs to, but it's standard around 3.5 most of the time.
what, how
See
many,
here.
how many players do you have for your Conan servers? Like,
I believe 30 each. We had
yeah,
2 servers.
yeah, 30 was about what that hardware would support.
Yeah, we've got 2 players with 30 each. There we've got our ARC servers are 60, I believe, on the ARC servers, and then we've got Empyrean.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you ever run servers from within a VM?
I'm doing that right now for Flooded for his Tsunami Gaming. We're running the 7 Days Vanilla and the Darkness Falls. We're running an Empyrean and a Conan all on a Windows 10 VM, which we're going to be migrating over to a Server 19 VM. But it's running on a Samsung Evo 970 or 980, 2 terabyte NVMe.
980 if it's a 2 terabyte.
Yeah, 980. Yeah.
I've wondered because a lot of the VM solutions they do say that it's pretty close to bare metal. There's not much overhead with it, and I've wondered if it
Yeah,
makes
as long as your hardware
any
supports.
yeah, because it's easier to have one physical box and then split everything out as you need it with different operating systems.
Yeah, so far, the only thing we've come to have an issue with now and then is some type of network disruption. So I'm not exactly sure. Flooded's been looking into that. I know he is on vacation this weekend and out of town. But I don't think anything's. I don't know where it's coming from. But um, when I had my other server hooked up, I didn't have any um network drop as far as I know. But then again, I wasn't running a VM on there though.
Well, the last few Windows 10 updates have really screwed with network adapters too, so make sure you've got the drivers updated all the time there.
Windows update. Every time there's a major update, I pretty much have to reinstall Windows because the update just fails and it glitches things out.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Naz, what kind of hardware are you running? Are you on the 3950X?
Yeah, that's in my main rig still, and it's still got the planned second life of going in a server at some point. But my main server is just using what CPU I had in my main rig before, which is an i7 6700K, and
What
Ooh,
that's
ow.
running.
what gen?
The
Which end?
6700, that's 6th gen.
16. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
That's like the worst generation for Intel. I mean, literally, the 3rd generation CPUs are like 10% faster.
yeah. I run it overclock to 4.2. It can do 4.7, but not in the case I've got in.
That's when you need the mineral spirits cooling.
Pretty much.
I would love to attempt that one day, but I'm just too scared of liquid near components.
You'd be surprised how resilient they are to liquids, but if you try, you don't have to try too hard to kill them with it.
Exactly. I'd be afraid to spend all that money. I'm like, here, let's dump this in. Nope, everything fails. Well, there goes 10 grand.
Yeah, that would really suck.
Maybe
I
if I
remember
ever.
there was this YouTube video, and it was one of the tech channels, and he had this gigabyte graphics card, and he was talking about its like gigabytes marketing of aero something coating that protects it from moisture. So he decided to take water cooling fluid and pour it on the back plate while it was running a game,
Oh.
and it was so cringy to watch him do it, and it like freezes and the screen glitches out, and then it just like fails. But he dries it off and puts it all back together, and then it's running the game fine as if nothing was going on. And then he does it again, and it's like, stop doing it.
That was actually know who that was. I think that was God. Now I can't remember his
Hardware
name.
Unboxed.
Jay-Z, I think.
No, he was the one that drilled through a motherboard.
Oh. What is wrong with these people?
Jay-Z
Free
likes to break stuff.
Oh, okay.
free samples,
It,
man. Free samples.
they did a video recently. They were liquid cooling with vodka.
Now, I don't know why you want to do that because vodka is flammable, and I have a off-topic funny story. So one of my friends was having a party years ago, and him and his one roommate were making Jello shots. So you might see where this is going. So I come over to help them set up later, like right after they put out the fire, and my one friend goes, "Did you know vodka was flammable?" Why, yes, I did. I've only been drinking it for like 10 years. And he's like, "Oh, well, me and such were making Jello shots. So you put the vodka in the pan, right? How'd you guess? Well, you said you just finished putting out the fire. So yes, they tried to make Jello shots by heating up vodka and adding the gelatin instead of just doing the water and then adding the vodka in later." But the question is, at 20 some years old, 25, 26 years old, he goes, "Did you know vodka was flammable?" That's what really
Most
caught my
alcohol is.
attention. Exactly. And I was like, yes. I'm like, you've been drinking longer than I have. How do you not know this? So, you know, luckily he did not burn down his tiny kitchen or his house because that would have sucked. But the awe in his voice. Did you know vodka was flammable? I'm pretty sure most kids know it's flammable. But yeah, just like most alcohol, the higher the proof, the more flammable it is. So luckily he has never done that again, but still, you're 20 something years old, you've been drinking for over 10 years, you should know things like this. But yeah, I would never want to use vodka as a coolant.
I think like just straight up rubbing alcohol would be pretty good as a coolant. You wouldn't need to add like biocide or anything because it's not like anything's going to grow in 99% alcohol.
I mean, I've thought about getting a liquid cool system using antifreeze. A little bit of that. I mean, that if
You
that's
have to
mm-hmm,
worry about it corroding the
the tubing.
seals, though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the antifreeze will eat away at the rubber O-rings and stuff, and
Right, that's what it.
that the alcohol will damage the acrylic plastics.
it sounds like the alcohol would probably be safer. You just use rubber
Yeah, I
tubing
think
instead of the acrylic.
yeah, I think if you get like an all metal block with no acrylic window and you use anything but plastic tubing, you'd probably be fine with alcohol. But I think alcohol has a lower thermal conductivity than
Yes, it
water
does.
does.
Hmm.
So you wouldn't see much difference.
Well, we just have a few minutes left. Let me see if there's any questions or anything. No
Oh,
questions.
can I ask something?
Yes, yes, you can.
Sure.
Yeah, no. We've been talking about like basic system requirements. We've been talking about basic requirements like for servers. For the sake of people who are listening to this, maybe people ask all the time, what do I need to play this game? What do I need? What kind of system do I need? What do you reckon is the minimum that anybody needs to play 7 Days to Die?
I actually did that recently. Well, not recently, but in Alpha 19 Experimental, I did. Let me see if I can find it.
I mean,
Here it is. I did a minimum hardware test. I'll put the link in the brain drain comparison.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean,
that's
that was the absolute minimum system that I would be able to get 60 FPS on. The GPU that I did in that build was a 770. I had planned on using my 660 Ti with 2 gig VRAM, but the 660 had an accident and caught on fire, so I wasn't able to use it.
oops.
Yeah, I grabbed a cable from the wrong power supply, and Corsair uses a different ordering for their wires than Thermaltake does, and so everything plugged in fine. But then once the power went through it, it went to all the wrong spots, and we had a nice little smoke in the
Yeah,
kitchen. That
I've
was a
got
lot of fun.
a nice black scorch mark on the inside of my PC at the back because I somehow managed to plug a Molex connector on backwards and then plugged it
Oh
in. The
no!
entire cable just exploded.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I really like that 660 Ti.
Speaking of hardware requirements, I do have an Atari VCS. I did upgrade it to 32 gigs of RAM, but maybe what I'll do is I'll put it in the PC mode on Windows. I'll plug in my Windows drive and load 7 Days and see if it'll play on that. I mean, I
I've
That would
had.
got
be interesting.
a really old Dell laptop, and it's interesting because it's got like a SIM card thing. You can put a SIM in it, and you can swap out the CPU in it and that sort of thing. So
Huh.
I've got a mobile i7 in it and 16 gigs of RAM, but the GPU it uses like that hybrid solution of Intel's integrated GPU and
Ooh, I have a
a
laptop with that.
dedicated one.
Oh,
And
well,
the dedicated GPU is not really that much better. It's like an ancient low end Quadro, and I can play 7 Days to Die on it at lowest settings at 240p at 24 frames per second.
Yeah, my goal was 60 frames per second, so that's why I went with what I did for the minimum hardware test. But that old Q6600 held up rather well.
I can't believe you got that on 8 GB of RAM as well. That's mental, absolutely mental.
well, if you're just
You all
playing
look at
Navis, good.
the differences I did. I totally stripped the system down in order to get it to run like that, but it did run. I mean, because
Was that on a
when I had
4K
it
map?
bloated, it wasn't. No, I did played Navigaine with that one, so it was 6K. I didn't try the 8K map with it
Oh God, I wouldn't. I mean, as far as like,
because I know with the 8K map, I mean, you really need to have 12 gig of RAM.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is the bigger the map, the more RAM you're gonna need, and especially if you're playing Darkness Falls, where Kane's medium map is 8K and the large I think is 10 or 12K.
But I no, I play the extra large. That's 16K. It uses about 10 to 12 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, on single player, right? Not on the server.
No, on my server.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So as far as if you have a potato of a PC, I always recommend at least 8 gigs of RAM.
Hmm.
Your video card, I mean, I think it'll run on a 660 regular GTX.
Yeah, I mean, it should if it's a 2 GB version. If it's the
Yeah.
1 GB version, not so much.
Yeah,
I mean, it might run, but you want the 2 gig variant.
I had this. I had a GTX 660, the regular, with I think it was 2 or 3 gigs of RAM. I forget what it was back at the time, but
You see here, 1 gig was a standard on those, and they had the off one was a 2 gig. The 3 gigs were extremely rare with that build.
yeah, I don't.
I think you only saw the TIs with the 3 gig.
Yeah, It wasn't a Ti because I paid like around 250 for it when I got it, and it was still maybe like a year old. So I know it wasn't the
Hmm.
Ti. Like I kind of budget myself when it comes to the video cards from where somewhere between 250 and 300.
Yeah, I
And I
had splurged back then and got the TI. So
yeah, well I
I had most of what we had were 650s, but on that one I had splurged and got the TI.
yeah this build around I splurged and got it the 2070. So, I was like, oh, I always get the 60s. Let me get the 70. And it was the same amount of VRAM, but it was DDR5, I think, instead of DDR4.
Hmm.
So, it's a little bit better, but I'm like, man, I usually when I upgrade my video card, I prefer to get the next size up when it comes to the RAM. So if I have like a 6, I'd like to go to an 8. But then again, cost versus what I'd like.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
really
that
had to budget when we were upgrading from the 600 and 700 series cards, so we ended up only going with the 1066 gigs.
that 3080 Ti came out not too long ago,
Yeah, like a
and
week,
it's
wasn't it? Or 2?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a it's a joke.
yeah, it's marginally less expensive, but you've got half the RAM is just gone, and it's slightly cut down.
It performs like hardly faster than the regular one.
Oh, we could talk about
Yes,
video
it's
cards all
like
day. It's just that,
yeah.
there's none out there to buy.
Well, that's why we can talk about them all day because there's
Yeah.
none there.
It's like,
Well, it's funny. The best dollar per performance right now, and is actually in stock most places,
is that the
is
$1030?
the top of the line AMD, the 6900 XT.
Well, that just came out recently too, didn't it? Like within the
Yeah,
last
it's
like
been
six
out a
weeks or
couple of
something?
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months, but yeah, I mean it's like it's their top of the line. It blows the pants off of the Nvidia cards, and it's available for like $1,200. But still, it's like they're not really scalping it, and it's not getting priced hugely over MSRP.
Well,
Um,
well, I
I
think
guess because you can't mine with it, but
yeah, that's probably why. If you can mine with it, forget it. You can't get it.
Yeah,
So,
the price of Nvidia's 3000 series, like at launch, it was pretty steep, but I'm so glad I pre-ordered at launch because the prices now are just insane.
so when do you get
They're
yours?
like I pre-ordered day one in September, but I didn't get it until December.
Oh, you did get it. Okay, I remember you did have it on pre-order. I just didn't remember if it came in or not.
I've got another one still in pre-order.
I thought so. I thought there was something you were waiting on.
I get my NV-Link bridge next week. No GPU for it yet, but
All right, so we're a little past the 90-minute mark. Is there any questions or comments or anything anybody wants to say before we wrap up for today? All right, well, I'm going to take that as a no. I want to thank everybody for joining us, who's here and who's had to leave since the start. We will put a post up probably Wednesday-ish for the subjects for next week, and then on the June 19th show, it will be either 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern U.S. time, and we will have a special guest, which will be announced next week, just to get everybody to maybe we get a few more viewers or listeners. So that's going to be it from me for this week. If anybody else wants to close out the show.
I'm just barely hanging on by a thread with my little ghetto setup right now, so I'll be logging off really quickly.
I thought that's because you were drunk.
No, hungover maybe a little bit, but not drunk yet. It is afternoon now, so I can go have my first beer.
You
What, you
wait till
wait
it's
until
in.
this afternoon?
Yeah, she's not a derelict
Well,
like
you
we
know,
are.
it's always noon somewhere, so I'm not saying I don't.
All right, so we'll end this week's show. Again, thank everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody for participating, and we will see you next week. I will have this uploaded as soon as YouTube allows me to. Hopefully, there are no technical difficulties like we had last time.
Do we have sound?
Thank you,
Hopefully.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for stopping
Toodaloo.
by.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.